This is In Your Face Sports with Alex Katona and Avery Diaz here at KGUR Cuesta College.
Hello and welcome. My name is Alex Katona, and due to Avery Diaz, the other co-host, trying out to be the new 49ers kicker, she is not with us right now. But unfortunately, what she doesn't know is the 49ers also need tryouts for a new quarterback, offensive line, and maybe a running back. But let me welcome our current standing co-host.
Oh, man, you had to do Jake Moody like that. Well, my name's Jarrod Hayes. I am the standing co-host, and you're watching In Your Face Sports right here at KGUR at Cuesta College. This is an exciting week, Alex. First headline, somehow the Vikings beat the 49ers in a very close game. Do you think Brock Purdy has lost his mojo, or do you think the Niners can come back against Joe Burrow and the Bengals on Sunday?
Well, I don't know about Brock Purdy's mojo, but it is kind of concerning. I mean, not concerning for me because I don't like the Niners, but concerning for Niners fans. You know, he goes this whole season, no interceptions, and then one interception last week.
Yeah,
that's
10 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah.
Until last week.
Yeah, one interception. And then 2 interceptions this week. And, you know, the concerning part is last week he put the Niners in a chance to win at the end, obviously, against the Browns, and gave it up to the kicker, and then Jake Moody missed it, missed field goal of the day, and lost. But here's the concerning part, and I want to know what you think about this afterward. Then Purdy gets another chance, but this time, obviously Jake Moody has a say in the game because he missed field goals. But this game was more up to Brock Purdy to win. He had to go in a touchdown. But what do you think? He gets a second chance another week in a row. And not only does he not put his team in the position to even get in field goal range, he throws in a second interception and really does uncharacteristic things. So kind of what are you thinking about Brock Purdy?
I think you're absolutely right. Brock Purdy had 2 opportunities on 2 separate drives in the fourth quarter to potentially seal the game for the 49ers, and he did throw a couple of bad interceptions. I'd like to consider that he is only in his second year as a quarterback. He has had limited playing time last season, and this year he has obviously improved from last season, even though he did great at the end of, despite the injury and everything. And I also like to consider that Jake Moody is a rookie kicker. He's probably got a lot of nerves, and he obviously isn't used to a clutch game-winning situation yet, but I think the miss last week is going to help him going into the playoffs, and I think Brock Purdy is going to bounce back. He's a very accurate passer. I think he just had a couple of goofs. He's going to look at the tape. He's really good at studying. And I think that he's going to have a great bounce-back week against the Bengals. The only concern is the Bengals secondary is pretty stout. And so it is going to be a tough challenge, but I see him coming back. My main concern with the 49ers is their defense. I mean, Kirk Cousins, 35 of 45 for 378 yards with 2 touchdowns. Threw the pick early, but that was a contested catch with Charvarius Ward. And then Ward obviously gave up the big touchdown to Jordan Addison at the end of the first half. And that's just not 49er football. They are a defensive team at the end of the day. They run through their defense. Their front 7 is supposed to be, you got Javon Hargrave, who they signed in the offseason to a big contract. You got Nick Bosa, who signed the biggest non-QB contract of all time. I mean, these guys should be generating more pressure. I think it's on Steve Wilks. I think he needs to make some adjustments. At the end of the first half, it was the first time a team had sent 7 pass rushers in the final 30 seconds of a half since week 11 of 2020. So that was not a smart move. That's why Jordan Addison was able to break free for the touchdown. There was nobody back there. They should have been playing prevent. And a lot of that's on Wilkes. A lot of that is on the defensive line. And a lot of it's also on the secondary. The 49ers need to lock down They need to make adjustments, and they need to play better going forward, because the last 2 games have been atrocious defensively. And I don't blame the offensive line for the 49ers too much. Trent Williams was out, and I thought they actually played a decent game for having a starter out, especially somebody as good as Trent Williams, who's one of the best football players in the NFL. So, I think this is mostly on the defense, and I think that Jake Moody and Brock Purdy are young players, and I think they can do better going forward, only if the defense makes adjustments.
I do appreciate the defensive honesty, because especially the Vikings without Justin Jefferson, you wouldn't have even known that he was gone after just looking at Kirk Cousins' stats. You would not even known. And so I won't go too deep into the defense, as clearly they're having struggles. Nick Bosa held out. And here's the reason why I say this, where I just want to mention this quickly about the defense, is, he held out, and all off-season long, they're saying, well, Nick Bosa doesn't even need to practice that much. Nick Bosa doesn't need to be in the preseason, because he's just going to come in. But, maybe...
Apparently he needed to.
Yeah, apparently he did.
God.
Apparently he did. But let me also go back to, there's something I kind of disagreed with. I wanted to throw the challenge flag, but you were going off. So here's the statement is, Brock Purdy, you said he vastly improved, but here's the situation that he kind of put himself in. He came in last year, won, I think it was 8 straight games or something like that, and then obviously made it all the way to the NFC Conference Championship, where he didn't even, that NFC Championship was hurt, all that happened, so that doesn't really matter. But he was, as I called him earlier a couple weeks ago, he's a Terminator. He comes in emotionless. He came in as a rookie emotionless, and he destroyed teams. He destroyed Tom Brady. He destroyed teams like the Cowboys and all that in the playoffs and in the regular season. But now it's that's great, but when you do that, you expect him to continue to do that.
Right.
So now what's happening, though, is it's almost like he's going backwards. Because then the reason I say that is when you set such high expectations, you can't really rely on saying, oh, he's a second player, no, he's this. Because while that is true, he's Brock Purdy. And I'm not saying that name should come with a ton of clout, especially after last, but it comes with the clout saying he didn't throw interceptions. He threw a lot of touchdowns. He didn't panic. And now, out of nowhere, maybe you lose Debo. I don't know if that has so much to do with it, but right when he lost Debo, right when he lost Christian McCaffrey last game, there's completely changed. He threw an interception. He panicked, and then it's okay, it's the first year. It's his first bad game. He's going against Cleveland. He'll come back. But the real big problem is he didn't come back. He actually did. I'd say a worse game, because the Vikings defense, while good, are not as good as the Browns defense.
It's not a top-tier defense, you're right.
Yeah.
No. So
he played against a worse defense, maybe a worse team.
Let me tell you something, though. You remember Joe Burrow and how he started his season this year? He's in, third or fourth year? And, he didn't look too hot to start the season. He had multiple back-to-back bad games, just bad. And I don't think you can, even though it has been 2 games that Purdy has struggled in back-to-back games, I don't know if you can totally pin it on him. He didn't have Deebo Samuel in this game, who draws a lot of attention usually. Not that that's an excuse for the picks he threw, because they were bad. Those were some bad picks. But I think that because it's his second year, because he's still technically going through growing pains, we see him as Glock Purdy, he's a big name right now. But I say, there's 11 weeks left in the season, 10 more games for the 49ers. I think they still got a lot of juice in the tank as a team. I think that, a lot of really good QBs have had back-to-back bad games just this season alone. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, etc. And so when your defense gives up 452 yards, that's just not a recipe for success for a young quarterback. It doesn't give him that much confidence to feel like he can go out and win the game. Should he have thrown that last pass he did? Absolutely not. That was a terrible throw. Didn't see the defender at all. But like I said, even really good quarterbacks have bad games. And I think that giving him the rest of the season, I mean, his stats are still off the charts for this season. 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, quarterback rating of 107.2 with 1,600 yards. I mean, he's still been going off. And, just give him some time for the rest of the season, and I think he comes out of it with a couple of playoff wins at least.
That is a great point. I'm not going to lie, right when you brought up that Joe Burrow comparison and then even went into a little bit, I'm glad you continued talking because I got speechless for a second. But, last year Joe Burrow did start 0-2, and
right.
And it was beautiful because he played the Steelers. He played the Steelers week 1 of last year, threw 5 interceptions, I think, which was obviously unlost. And then following week played Dallas and lost. But I also want to challenge even further, push my worry for Brock Purdy, and then obviously kind of respond to that, even respond more to that comparison. And it is the reason I say it was a great comparison is because they both kind of have that Terminator personality, like that emotionless, where they just want to win. They go in and they just want to win. So it's a great comparison. They're both struggling. But I think it should be a good comparison and maybe provide a little bit of like ease and say, well, if Joe Burrow can do this, if Josh Allen can do this, then it's fine. But I also want to kind of emphasize, I don't know the exact word, but I also want to emphasize that it's like he's showed so much eliteness. I think that's not the right word, but whatever. So much eliteness. So like, why now? Is it because of Deebo that he's struggling, or like? But why now?
Oh no, it's not just because Deebo's out. He struggled in these last 2 games, and I will give you that. This is mid-season, so it's different from the beginning of the season where you're fresh into the games. So while I do have confidence in Brock Purdy, it does concern me slightly that this is happening during his mid-season form. And I think going forward, he's really got to lock in and not let the nerves get to him. I think he let the nerves get to him on a Monday Night Football game in Minnesota, and that's just not how you're going to win playoff games. Like, he has to stay with, like you said, that Terminator mentality. He has to lock in, or he's going to keep getting jumpy. Because he looked jumpier than usual in this last game. And I don't know if it's because Trent Williams was out, but that's not an excuse, because Jalen Moore was doing just fine filling in. And so I do agree with the sentiment that there is some concern, but I'm just hoping as a 49er fan going forward that he picks it up and he can play like he did for the first 5 games of the season.
And before moving on to the next topic, I do want to say we talked, believe episode 1, we talked about, Avery and I talked about how unbeatable the Niners seemed. And
no longer.
Yeah, really, this has really changed, even past these two losses, showing obviously they're not unbeatable. This shows playoff teams, like such as the Lions, who obviously we'll talk about later, and such as the Cowboys, they don't have to fear him maybe as much as they do, because Brock Purdy not exposed himself in like the way that it's normally used in sports, like he exposed that he's a bad quarterback.
He didn't play terrible, but he didn't play great.
Yeah, but he exposed the fact that he's not just a full Terminator, that he is human. Yes, and sometimes that idea gets lost. But that's maybe in such an important season when the Niners have such a good team, it is week 6, week 7 is not the time to show that you can let things get to you. But enough on the 49ers for now. Yeah. Let's move into our second down headline. The Steelers beat the Rams 24-17 in Los Angeles, and I was actually at the game. It was very fun. It was very great. But are the Steelers and the AFC North fierce contenders this season? And how are the Steelers fare in this week's matchup against the 5-2 Jaguars, which honestly is scary.
The AFC North is the most competitive division in football right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, there was a lot of, we went into the season kind of thinking that, but then, the Bengals started 0-2. Some teams lost, bad games, such as the Ravens. But, these last 3 weeks, the Ravens have not lost. No AFC North team has lost in the last 3 weeks. And obviously there's some bye weeks. But, it's heating up, and I'm not here for it. I mean, obviously I want to see the Steelers do as well as possible. That's the main idea. But
I'm here for it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Fun.
But
the Browns at 3-3, the Ravens at 5-2, and the Steelers, the Bengals at 3-3, and the Browns and the Steelers at 4-2, Ravens at 5-2. It's so competitive. It's the AFC North we know and love, and that's what makes it so much fun. But the Steelers had a great game. T.J. Watt with that interception into the red zone.
Beautiful.
That was spectacular. Matthew Stafford's a great quarterback, and they limited the offense to 17 points. That's impressive, especially on the road.
Yeah, especially coming in, hyping up Puka Nacua, who's obviously, if the Rams would have won the game, Puka Nacua probably would have been one of my least favorite players in the league so far. But luckily they came out with the win. But, I want to kind of say this as a little bit of a public, I don't know if that's the right word, public service.
PSA?
Yeah, PSA. I looked on those rankings. I scrolled down the rankings that either ESPN or NFL ranks, and I saw the Rams, and obviously I was specifically paying attention to the Rams and Steelers since they were playing when I checked the rankings. And they had the Rams, I think, at 15th or something, and that's whatever. That would be out of the playoffs, I think, because for the top 14 teams, so they did have them not as a playoff team. But the problem was I scrolled past the Rams, and I was like, what, are we forgetting about a team here? And this was after the Steelers beat the Ravens. And then, it was disrespectful. It was disrespectful to have the 3-2 Steelers, they were 3-2 at the moment because of their bye, and the 3-3 Rams, and it was disrespectful.
And having the Rams above them in the power rankings.
Yeah,
I agree with that because I believe the Steelers are a better team. That's true.
Yeah. So then, I wish I had the video, but
we know those rankings changed this week.
Oh yeah, they did. Sure. I checked them. I checked the rankings right after. But I wish I had the video. I was walking out of SoFi Stadium where the game was, and actually I don't remember if it was a verbal video or if I texted it to my group chat, but I was like, that's the last time we're gonna effing see the Rams ranked ahead of the Steelers, and I said I'm sick of it. So that was a nice little walking out of that stadium, looking at all those I don't know why I said Browns, looking at all those Rams fans, and I was like, yeah, get this out of my face, y'all suck.
Get it out of my face.
But yeah, what do you think about the Browns win? Because
the Browns win was impressive. That with the backup quarterback once again after Deshaun Watson went out with a concussion in the first quarter. Despite being cleared, he didn't come back in the game. I think it's incredibly impressive they can go in with their backup and win a high-scoring game against a decent team like that.
It's
because I think the Colts are a good team. I think Gardner Minshew is a really good backup as well. I think he's, potentially starter material for several teams. And so for the Browns to do that was impressive, I think.
I completely agree with the Colts. The Colts are kind of whatever. You don't have to be scared of them. You don't have to be scared of them in the long term. But, I don't think teams really want to play them.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So, it's a little scary, and I hate to say this, but there were so many interceptions, there were so many turnovers, there was so much defense, but it was weird. There was so much defense while there also being so much offense.
Oh, absolutely. It was best of both worlds for this game.
Yeah, and what's crazy was I checked the Browns defense on fantasy just out of curiosity because you hear so much hype about what they did. And for giving up 38 points, I think they had 14 or something points on defense, which is crazy because, as everyone knows, you lose points.
Yeah, you get maybe 5 or 6 points if they allow that many, points.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So, it's scary. And then obviously we don't. I mean, obviously you should come with a grain of salt because, like, let's since we're talking about the scary AFC North, let's dive into Deshaun Watson a little bit because I kind of want to know I mean, he's played. I think he's about at a full season right now. Like full season, if you include where he came in last year to where he is now. What are you so far grading this Deshaun Watson trade?
I would rate it about a C- at best. I mean, they gave him a huge contract after all the scandals that happened, and I just have not seen totally elite play from somebody that high paid. I wouldn't say that he fleeced the Browns. I think we need a little more time to see on that, but he hasn't been reliable or dependable injury-wise, and he hasn't been like off the charts like his contract would indicate he should be. And I think that while he is playing well, he's not playing like the football he was playing with the Texans.
Yeah, when he was a top 3,
he's not playing the same.
Yeah, when he had DeAndre Hopkins, he was just top, like literally.
Hopkins was his little cheat code, and now he doesn't have his cheat code anymore.
Yeah, but yeah, that's like that. Those years when, like the year he went to the divisional round, 24-0 up against the Chiefs. That's the 260 or 230 million guaranteed quarterback they want.
That's exactly right.
But it is so different.
It's not what they're getting, no.
And it's kind of, I mean, I love it as a Steelers fan, but
all day.
It's like, it could be dangerous. Could being the most important word, because they're winning these games with a backup quarterback, and their expectation when they paid Deshaun the most guaranteed money ever, their expectation is that they got a top 3 quarterback. And now if you kind of go into like a parenthetical world, they see themselves as an elite roster, great defense. Obviously,
the defense is the best defense in the league. I mean, it's insane.
It's okay. It like
up
has
there.
the.
I'd say top 5.
Yeah, definitely top 5, and then
maybe not the best,
but they have like those they have those games where they can absolutely destroy the opposing offense. So like they saw this situation where they knew they had a good defense. They knew they had an offensive line. They knew they have Nick Chubb, who obviously got hurt, and they's like, oh, we can pair this with a top 3 quarterback. Yeah, that was really sad. They were like, we can pair this whole roster and have a top 3 quarterback, and that's a. I've used this term before, but that would have been a God squad.
Oh, for real.
But I mean, it's the Browns, and then I say that because it doesn't work out in your favor. When you're the Browns, it normally comes with pain, and even though they are 4-2 right now, it's not anywhere where they think they should be. I mean, kind of, they with Nick Chubb hurt and with Deshaun,
it's understandable more, but they're still playing lights out.
Yeah, but I get what I'm kind of trying to say is
without Deshaun.
Yeah,
essentially.
Exactly. Without Deshaun, and that's not what they want to see. You don't want to see your franchise. You want to see the success they're having, but you don't want to see your franchise quarterback not coming into games, not wanting to play, and then even when he is coming to play, playing trash, throwing an interception in like the first drive of the game, but I think it was like one of the first throws.
Now, speaking of franchise quarterbacks, I want to go back to the Steelers real fast.
Okay.
So how much do you believe in Kenny Pickett, really? Because I'm looking at his stat line for the season so far, and he has 1,257 yards, only 5 touchdowns to 4 picks, and a QBR of 35.3 for the season. How much do you believe in Kenny Pickett going into a potential playoff run?
All right, I'm not gonna lie. I winced a little bit at that QBR. I mean, that hurt. But like, let's also, okay.
Because he's in his second year too. You were saying Brock Purdy's falling off, but I've been seeing Pickett throw picks all season. Still got more than Purdy according to the stat sheet. So let's hear about that.
Okay, not gonna lie, those stats threw me off a little bit. But I don't want to sound hypocritical and talk about and compare stats and wins like I just was with the Browns, saying they have all these wins and the stats or whatever with the quarterback. But I also do want to say, they're 4-2. They beat the Browns. They beat the Ravens. And I think I just realized this, and I was reading an article, or I was either reading an article or watching a video, either one or. And this is a way to win, but it's not like, and it's not a coincidence. That's what was being emphasized. Against the Browns, even I know we're talking about Kenny Pickett, but he had some fourth quarter plays. Not too much against the Browns, but again, they came back in the fourth quarter with a touchdown and then won. But then really where it comes is in the Ravens game, having horrible first three quarters. I mean, I don't think they scored. But it's
always a defensive battle between those two teams.
Yeah. So they had, Pickett only put up 3 points going into the fourth quarter.
And so does that concern you going into the playoffs?
It does concern me a little bit. But here's...
of course, assuming they make a playoff run, which they should.
Yes, which they should. I appreciate that. Because they're a winning team. They're a winning franchise.
T.J. Watt's arguably the best...
T.J. Watt is the best
defensive player in the league right now.
I think he is.
Him or Myles Garrett, because my poor Nick Bosa has just not been doing too hot.
Yeah, he has not been doing well. And then Myles Garrett, he's not letting his name fall out of households. But T.J. Watt is he's just different. Obviously there's all the obvious stuff like his motor. He never gives up on a play. He's always going to keep on rushing till he gets the sack. But this game against a top quarterback, Matthew Stafford, he was ranked top 10, I think, just a couple rankings ago, or maybe last ranking, and he picks him off. And here's why I confidently say TJ Watt's the best.
2 minute warning.
Okay, let me get this really quick. He is, and I didn't mean to pass over Kenny Pickett. We'll definitely talk for him for weeks to come. But TJ Watt has the clutch gene where when you need to make a big play, he makes the big play.
Absolutely. I think he's a game wrecker. That's what I expected Nick Bosa to do with his contract this season, and I'm not seeing it as much as TJ.
Yeah.
I want to see game wrecker material like him.
Yeah, because then TJ, and he turns, it's what you want from a defense, but and obviously the Steelers defense, Niners defense, Browns defense, all with Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, and TJ Watt, they're all good. The defense is even not including them, but out of those three players that I just listed, TJ Watt, if you need a forced fumble, he'll get in the fourth. He'll get a forced fumble in the fourth.
I am totally with that.
If you need an interception, the game.
He's a game record just like his brother was with the Texans. The guy is just off the charts.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm expecting from Nick Bosa going forward for the second half of the season, because while he's been generating pressures and, doing well in the run game, if you're getting that much money, you got to get a sack count. You got to be consistently putting the QB on the ground. And that's what TJ Watt's been doing this season.
Yeah, and then Nick Bosa does, and Myles Garrett has been doing this, where it's not even just the sacks, which obviously, sacks ruin drives, and sacks create great opportunities for both their team's offense and the defense.
Absolutely.
So sacks are just great plays. But you also expect Nick Bosa to bat down a pass on third down and to maybe even intercept it. That's what TJ Watt does. And when edge rushers are just getting better now, I think it's a common, especially this year, sack numbers I think have been really high. So edge rushers are getting better because they're super freak athletes, and offensive lines are just athletes. No disrespect to offensive line, but here's what I'm getting to before we go into the break is when you're one of the top, when you're the cream of the corn in offense and defensive linemen, it's not just getting sacks because your whole defensive line is expected to go into the game and get sacks no matter who they are. But when you're one of those top players, you should
be generating more big plays.
Yeah, and
I agree.
changing
That's what
games.
Nick Bosa should be doing.
Yeah, because TJ Watt, I'll end this real quickly. The Rams were looking like they were already up by 6, and they got the ball in the second half, and they were looking like, let's just go down the score and make this a 2-possession game. But it was, instead of making it a 2-possession game, TJ Watt, as an edge rusher, intercepted the ball and then made
seeing plays like that is lovely. You love seeing the D-line getting some picks and fumble recoveries
and change the game. And instead of going down by 6, instead of being down by 6 in fear of getting losing by 2 possessions, they won. They were winning 10-9, all because of T.J. Watt and the last little 7 yards. So,
all right, well, we're going to put a pause on that, and we're going to go into halftime. We're going to take a little 5-minute break, and this is KGUR, Cuesta College Radio. We'll be back.
This is In Your Face Sports with Alex Katona and Avery Diaz here at KGUR, Cuesta College.
Broadcasting live from the Yale by the jail. This is Cuesta College Radio on KEBF Morro Bay 97.3 FM, KZSR Paso Robles 107.9 FM, listener-supported radio for Central California. We play it however you like it right here on Cuesta College Radio.
Good morning. This is KGUR Cuesta College Radio. I am your host, Alexis Lopez, and today we're going to be playing the best songs of the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and even some 70s to throw it in. And these are the songs that are some underrated gems that you may have heard of, but probably don't get enough attention. The first song I'll be playing is Bare Naked Ladies, It's All Been Done, a personal favorite of mine because I love listening to it on road trips and even on cruising. It's just a really cool, fun song if you want to feel the 2000s and late 90s vibe, so I hope you enjoy. So that was the Bare Naked Ladies, It's All Been Done. Fun fact about this song, I first heard this in the cartoon called Baby Blues on Adult Swim, and I was a little kid when I first watched that. So this next song I'll be playing is Timbuk 3, The Future's So Bright, I Gotta Wear Shades. It's a pretty cool song of the 80s. It was a one-hit wonder, but it's got like this really bluesy, fun, kind of like optimistic vibe, but yet it has some dark implications about the nuclear holocaust. And I hope you enjoy. So that was The Future's So Bright, Gotta Wear Shades by Timbuk 3. Pretty cool song, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Fun fact about the song, Pat Benatar did a cover of it in Disney VHS.
This is In Your Face Sports with Alex Katona and Avery Diaz here at KGUR, Cuesta College.
Welcome back, guys. We are done with halftime. Hope you enjoyed the break. We are going to shoot right into our third headline. The Lions fell to the Ravens on the road 38-6 in an absolute blowout. Jared Goff did not look like himself. The whole team suffered. Lamar Jackson just absolutely went off. So I think the Ravens are back at the top of the AFC North, 5-2. How do you feel about the Lions and how they looked?
I don't love it. I don't love it because in the past couple episodes, I was fully on the hype train, especially after their win against the Bucks. I was fully hyping up the Lions, and this hurt. It hurt in more ways than one because not only was I actively rooting for the Lions, but I was actively rooting against the Ravens.
Absolutely.
And it was it was. I don't just want to say horrible, but it was a shock. I mean, it was a shock because because the Lions looked so good, and then it's pretty concerning because the Ravens. I kind of they had their performances. They lost against the Colts, got beat by the Steelers. Didn't look great. Had a lot of turnovers. And then even the following game where they won against the Titans, I think they relied on 6 field goals. And you're like, okay, the Ravens are good. I mean, they're always good, but is this a team really to be scared of? And they really got that narrative and really flipped it on its head.
Absolutely, they are scary.
Yeah, I think 4 touchdowns in like their first 4 offensive possessions or something like that, something in those things. And then not only did they get 4 touchdowns on offense in like their first 4 or so possessions, but they dominated what looked to be a scary offense with Jahmyr Gibbs back, who wasn't playing when they beat the Bucks. And Amon-Ra, who's obviously a top wide receiver, and it didn't even matter. The Ravens dominated them.
Absolutely. Lamar Jackson, over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns through the air, no picks, had a touchdown on the ground. This was his best game of the year so far. It put him into MVP contention for sure, in my opinion. He's got 1,600 yards on the year, 8 touchdowns, 3 picks, and 5 on the ground. He's going off. Do you see them as being the biggest threat to the Steelers in the AFC North at this moment?
I do, and it really made me look back. And obviously I went into the year saying, the Bengals are the best team in the AFC North, and no matter how much of a Steelers fan I am, I know I have to fear the Bengals.
Always got to watch out for Joe Burrow. That's right.
But even though I do believe the Bengals are going to step it up and continue to win like they've been winning, I think, the last 2 games or so, which is obviously not much, but when you're Joe Burrow and you're Jamar Chase, you're dangerous. But I kind of sit back and I realized, I was like, maybe the Ravens are the best team in the AFC North. And it's a little scary because, as we talked about earlier, it's the most competitive division, at least in the AFC. And the Ravens are not only just being competitive on the level of the AFC North on who could win, but they're actually turning into a competitive AFC team. Team
100%.
Yeah, the team that we saw on Sunday.
That's a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, it is exactly. It's a Super Bowl contender, and that's not something I'm trying to hear, but it's true.
Truth. Now, how do you feel about the Lions? So, what does Dan Campbell tell his players in practice going into the next week after such a embarrassing loss, to be frank? Jared Goff was all over the place. He was jumpy. The offensive line was not protecting him. The run game was almost non-existent. Granted, this is a very good Ravens defense, and it was on the road. But what does Dan Campbell tell his players? How did they handle practice going into next week?
I don't know. It's tough because, you obviously, when it's your job and when it's that important to you, you obviously have to kind of move on. And it's hard, us as fans and not even fans of the Lions, you kind of just say,
clean slate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I kind of lost. I lost some hype for the Lions.
Yeah.
As a fan of not a full fan of the Lions, but somebody who wants to see the Lions do well.
They're like the underdogs, They're somebody like that America's rooting for in a way.
Yeah, but this game, it kind of really changed the narrative.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, I hate to say this, and it's obviously not completely true, but I care a lot less about the Lions now. I saw them as a team that a game like that wouldn't happen to them because I thought they had a ferocious defense with
We got CJ back there, CJ Gardner-Johnson. He's been talking trash all week to my boy Debo, and it didn't work out so well this week for him.
Yeah.
I mean, not for the Niners either, but Debo didn't play. But
Debo's been talking a lot of trash, though.
Oh, they both
all
been.
around the league. So, and it's not looking great for either of them. But, yeah, I mean, you had this kind of clout surrounding you, and you had this like idea that we're a ferocious defense and we're a great offense as they were last year. They just lacked some defense, and it all kind of went out. I forgot the phrase, but it all went out the window, and I wanna forget about this, and I think that's kind of what the.
Well, they are still 5-2, right? I mean, they still got really good playoff hopes. They're still at the top of their division. The NFC North is, except for the Vikings, pretty bad. I mean, Packers haven't been playing well. Bears obviously have not been playing well. So do you think that that's like maybe a confidence booster for them going into practice thinking, hey, at least we're still at the top of the division. At least we're still in control for now. Do you think that helps them kind of forget about this game and just kind of throw away the tape for this game and just start fresh for next week?
I think that is a great possibility, and I think the fans should be really grateful for that. And actually, what I did check is they actually are the second seed in the NFL behind the
Eagles?
Yeah, behind the Eagles. So as Lions fans who have been through a lot of suffering, I don't think they have a playoff win this century. As Lions fans,
oh man, that's a crazy stat. It's almost certainly true.
Putting the century word in there kind of hurts, I was sure hurt for Lions fans. But they know they're going to make the playoffs. But as for the actual team, the inside organization, and for the players and all that coaching, I don't think they can find peace in a trash division and in a second seed, because I mean it is semi early, and this could be a game where they just said, okay, it hurt, but we're gonna use this game and make sure this never happens again.
Yeah,
and if that is
motivation,
and if that is the case, then that is gonna be great for them. But also, if that's not the case, and I'm actually slightly going towards it not being the case, and I want to ask you, if you did have them at Super Bowl contention last year, just assume last week you had them at Super Bowl contention, does this week change anything?
I think it affects it slightly, but not too much. Every team has bad games. I mean, you saw the Patriots a few years ago before Tom Brady won his last Super Bowl with the Patriots. They had a horrible game against the Chiefs and got blown out 30-something to 3 or something crazy like that, and then went on to win the Super Bowl that year. And so I think that it raises a couple question marks, but it doesn't put them out of Super Bowl contention. I think there's still a top-tier team. I think that they need to come out and look more competitive next week at the very least. But that's, Dan Campbell's a great coach. I think Jared Goff is an excellent quarterback still. I think that they just had a really bad game, and time will tell. But right now, I wouldn't put them out of Super Bowl contention. I would still say that they're top 5. No, not top 5. Maybe top 8 team in the league still, I would say.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely some good points. I also do want to point out, which it was a great, that the reference to Tom Brady's Patriots year.
I'm not saying Jared Goff's anywhere close to Tom Brady. But, just like as a rough comparison of like getting blown out early or like mid-season and then coming back.
Okay, that is what I was going to say, because I was like, I think Tom Brady in his Bucs Super Bowl, he also did get blown out by the Saints earlier in that year, and obviously in the divisional round ended up beating them. But nobody is Tom Brady, especially Jared Goff. No disrespect to Jared Goff because he's playing well.
I agree, yeah.
So that's why I actually hit it a little bit more at it does really hurt their Super Bowl chances, because a performance like that against the Ravens, who are obviously a great team like we just said, like we just talked about, but a performance like that, and if it doesn't... It
was embarrassing.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. And it has to be used as a fire, which, as I'm talking about, Dan Campbell is the type of coach to be able to use
Hopefully light a fire under their bellies.
Yeah, and have him spark. He's a great coach for that. But if that is not the case, and if this if this loss ends up hurting them as much as I fear it maybe could, I think it really is going to be bad for them in the long term. And I think this is also a common question asked, and I want to kind of ask it just before we move on to the next thing. Is this more about the Lions' bad performance, or are the Ravens just that good?
I think this is more about the Ravens' performance on offense and defense. I think the Lions had a bad game, but they're going to scrap the tape. I think the Ravens just showed up and showed out, and I think that that's something to really look to, especially with how Lamar Jackson was throwing the ball. Everybody makes jokes that they have a running back at quarterback and all this stuff, like kind of Justin Fields style, but the boy can throw. The boy can absolutely, toss that ball. Like, he is that guy. He is him for the Ravens. He proved it that was just a spectacular performance. Like I said, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yes, he had one on the ground, but he was throwing it all over the place. And with, like you said, a team like the Lions, being able to do that is just very impressive. I don't look to the Lions' poor performance as much because it was on the road, but it's like right there. It's like, because the Lions' performance was atrocious and inexcusable, and I think that's what Dan Campbell's going to start with, but then he's going to say, listen, we just got to scrap the tape. No need to even look at it. We played bad in all 3 phases of the game, and we just got to go back to just practice hard and let's study up and let's get ready for next week.
All right, and I do want to ask another question pertaining to the Ravens. So as I spoke earlier on the Ravens' earlier performances, especially last week, week 6, he had he had kind of an okay game, Lamar, against the Titans, but obviously everybody left that game thinking, why did they have to kick so many field goals to win? Why couldn't they get in the end zone? So with that in mind, plus with all the hype surrounding the Lions, I want to ask, do you think the Ravens played out of their mind because they wanted to get rid of that offensive struggle narrative, and they knew they had to play well against the Lions, so more that they overperformed against the Lions? Or do you think this is what we're going to see from the Ravens for weeks to come?
I honestly think this is what we're going to continue to see. The only question mark is the receivers being dependable because Duvernay and flashing his name, but
Rashad or Zay Flowers?
Zay Flowers, but no, the guy who always drops passes.
Oh, Aguilar.
Yeah, Aguilar. I don't know if his receiver room is all that dependable. They had a great game, but they've been known to drop passes. So a lot of it is dependent on how consistent his wide receivers can continue to be. And so I'm going to say, yes, they continue to go forward with this kind of offensive performance, but with the question mark of, can the receiver room continue to be consistent?
All right, and then before we move on, I actually want to answer that question that I presented. I actually think they played out of their minds for this game specifically, and obviously I think they're going to be a top team in the AFC, but I don't think we should be getting used to the Ravens winning 38-6 against this type of team. And not even just specifically that, but I don't think we should get used to this level of efficiency from the Ravens. And obviously they're going to have many more games. I can agree
with that sentiment, especially with the receiver room.
Yeah. And then I even want to kind of not challenge that, but add on to that, because obviously, I think they had 7 drops against the Steelers, which had its effects on the game. We won't go too much into that. But also, I'm going to go back to that Steelers game just a little bit, to not talk too heavily about it. But Lamar did have his times where he had a chance to come back and he fumbled. He had a chance to go up by even more points when he started in his own in the Steelers' own 10, and he threw an interception. So what I want to say is Lamar has these great performances, and the Ravens have had these great performances.
He is inconsistent, though.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, he has one playoff win, and when you are, just like you said, that guy, him,
you got to be able to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, you have to be, and he has not.
This year, he has to prove that. I agree. He's got to win a playoff game. He's got he's got to win a few if he wants to be considered one of the great quarterbacks right now.
Exactly.
I agree with that.
He does have to win a few, and you want to say maybe this year is different, but I mean, he's already had a better year. This isn't even his best year so far because obviously he had his MVP year.
Yes.
And lost first round of the playoffs. Then second year, I think the year right after that, he played the Titans, beat them, got his one playoff win in year 3, and then lost to the Bills, I think it was. So, the reason I bring that up is because it's not his first year. It's not his second year. He's had years in this league. He's had great
Great
world.
coaching.
Yeah, and then out of this world regular season game. I mean, he just had a great out of this world regular season game this year.
But now he has to carry it into the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's had many of them the year before. And it does that at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. So I guess we'll see what happens this year in the playoffs and what happens in the rest of the regular season. But I just want to point out that just because he has these crazy regular season games, it's not much of a signifier or whatever that he's going to do any better in the playoffs than he has.
We're going to need to see playoff Lamar play the same way as regular season Lamar. We're going to have to see it to believe it.
And it's something I do not want to see. So let's move on. Only
time will tell.
Let's move on to the fourth and final headline. So I want to talk about the Cardinals because the Cardinals are off to a bad start, as expected. They're 1-6, and they just lost to the Seahawks. I think they are 0-3 in the division, which obviously hurts. But I don't just want to trash this segment is not about trashing the 1-6 Cardinals. This segment is actually about hyping them up because they're about to get Kyler Murray back. But honestly, I don't even see that as too significant now because Joshua Dobbs has been playing great. And in complete honesty, I think the Cardinals have been playing very well.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs, 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks. I mean, that's not great, but it's not the worst.
I hate to say this, but it's better than Kenny Pickett's stats now.
It's technically better. Yeah, it's true, actually.
So, and then they're losing games, and obviously the Cardinals have all their struggles. They lost J.J. Watt to retirement. They lost Isaiah Simmons to...
But hey, they beat the Cowboys.
All right, that was great. That was... We'll put up a picture of my Halloween costume, but you'll see the significance of that when that shows up in the next week. But then to continue, they lost Byron Jones, so they have their defensive struggles. So that's an obvious reason why while Joshua Dobbs has better stats than Kenny Pickett, and they're 1-6 compared to Kenny Pickett's stats, and them being 4-2. But I really wanted to talk about this week, and I even wanted to talk about it a little bit last week, but it got muddled out. Are you respecting the Cardinals right now? Not in a way that they're a good team, but can you respect them for being seen as easily the first overall pick holders? I mean, we went into the year thinking they were going to be 0-17, thinking that they were going to get Caleb Williams without question, even with Kyler Murray. But can you put a little bit of respect on their name for the fight they've been showing this year?
Absolutely. I mean, against my 49ers even, it was a close game up until the fourth quarter, and then the Niners did pull away, but it was too close for comfort. And they beat the Cowboys, which is a huge win. Cowboys are still a great team. And they've put up a fight in every single game they've played. There's no doubt about that. And like you said, Josh Dobbs has been playing really well coming in for Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray coming back could spark them to try and make a comeback out of the season. And I think a little challenge on the play. Carolina's got the first overall pick, but they don't really, but they do. They're going to be the worst team in the league. Still haven't won a game. But the Cardinals... I think that they could potentially make a comeback with Kyler coming back. It really depends on how he handles the injury that he had and how good he really feels.
Well, you can keep your time out because I do think that challenge should be accepted. But let me speak on the comeback. When I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you say comeback, what I'm thinking is they don't need to come back to to make the playoffs, obviously. Right. But if they can come back and they can win 4 or so games and put themselves in a top, if they get like the 5th overall pick, it's actually great because because you don't want to be in a situation where you can get Caleb Williams. And obviously, Caleb Williams could be a generational talent, but they have Kyler Murray, so they don't want to be in a situation where they're the first overall pick and they have to either deal away Kyler Murray and get Caleb Williams, or deal away the first overall pick. And they don't want to be in that situation. But if they can come back and win some more games with Kyler Murray, not only do they show that they can win with Kyler Murray and that they can go into the future not having to question him, but they also can get their hype up a little bit going, get a little bit of momentum going into the next year, and knowing and accepting that they can get an early round pick.
Absolutely.
So,
while still, maintaining a competitive spirit and like winning some games.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's really, I don't know how Cardinals fans feel about this.
They kind of want a half tank,
Yeah.
They don't want to tank fully because that's just gonna want Kyler Murray to be playing the best he can play, but at the same time, if the season is pretty lost, you're 1-6 despite your starter coming back. You kind of want that high draft pick, like you're saying.
Yeah. So, like half tank. And then I think a huge thing is their defense is really not good. They gave up 4 touchdowns, I think, to Christian McCaffrey. They were close for the Bengals game and ultimately lost. So their defense will lose them games.
Only 3 touchdowns, but that's still too many.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good reaction. And also a little side point out for some historic moments is I believe Christian McCaffrey has the most consecutive games. I think at 16.
I think he tied the record with the Vikings game, yeah.
Oh, and that's put him at 15 or 16?
I think 15 and then 16 would be the record next week, I think.
Okay, well, let's hope that he gets it against the Bengals, because I know I see the Bengals win.
I sure hope so.
We can both agree that we need that game to go the Niners' way. But before we end, let me finish off with the Cardinals.
What do you think their record's going to be by the end of the season?
That's a great question. That's a great way to finish off. They played really good teams. They played the Cowboys, not saying they're really good, but they're good. They played the Niners. They played the Rams, not really good too. But they played... Let me restart. They played some good teams. They played the Seahawks. They played the Bengals. They played the Cowboys. And they played the 49ers.
Beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, beat the Cowboys. That's great.
I'd like to reiterate.
That's a great point to re-say. But, yeah, they played great teams, and they're 1-6. But, I think a lot of teams would lose against the Niners, Bengals, Cowboys, which they didn't even do, and the Seahawks. So they're getting a lot of...
They've had a tough schedule.
Yeah, they've had a tough schedule, and they're competitive.
So what do you see, 4-13, 5-12?
I think Joshua Dobbs can... I don't know the exact timetable of Kyler Murray's return, but I think Josh Dobbs can get him at least another win.
Oh, is he not coming back next week yet?
Oh, is he? Well,
I'm not sure.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not too sure. We don't pay too much attention to the Cardinals, even though we are talking about them. But I think if Josh Dobbs does play a couple more games, I think he can get another win. That puts them at 2-7 if he wins next week. And I think Kyler Murray can maybe end the year.
Or 2-6.
Yeah, win a couple of games. So, 2-6. That's good. Yeah. So 2-6, because they obviously wouldn't lose a game if they won it next week. So, 2-6. And I think Kyler Murray could end maybe a couple of the game, maybe win while he comes back, maybe win a couple games from his comeback month, and then maybe end the year with a couple wins. And I kind of said wins a lot, but
you see maybe 5-12?
Yeah, maybe 5-12. I kind of said wins more than I actually thought they'd get wins.
Well, I'll tell you who's not going to be 5-12 is my San Francisco 49ers. They are going to go at least 13-4, and they're on their way to the Super Bowl.
Let's. I know we're ending, but let's just challenge that Super Bowl.
Flag on the play. Flag on the play.
We're not.
No, you're gonna have to pick that flag up, ref.
I think while we are rooting for the Niners to beat the Bengals, we do not think they're making this. I do not think they're making the Super Bowl, and we will get into it next week, and we will see.
Maybe it'll be 49ers Steelers, huh?
That puts a smile on my face. They do have the same. They do have the Steelers are one win away from having the same record as the Niners.
Oh yeah.
So let's hope let's hope that the 49ers can help out the Steelers a little bit and beat the Bengals just as the Steelers helped out the Niners and beat the Rams.
So you're going to be a Niner fan this week for once, huh?
I will. I was one against when they played the Browns,
That's right.
but they disappointed me.
Yeah, didn't quite come through with that.
So I actually became
Moody.
even more of a Niners hater after that drive.
Hey,
But
give Moody some time, give my boy Glock Purdy some time, and they're going to come through. I'll tell you what. All right, let's wrap this up, yeah?
all right. You want to finish it off or end it?
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have this week. Tune in next Tuesday for In Your Face with Alex Katona, and I will be back as the co-host. My name is Jarrod Hayes. This is In Your Face Sports on KGUR Cuesta College Radio, and have yourselves a very pleasant day.
This is In Your
That was my
Face
fault.
Sports with
I didn't see
Alex
this line.
Katona.
Sorry about that.
Here at KGUR Cuesta College.
And you're listening to KGUR Cuesta College Radio. This week in KGUR Cuesta College News, Cuesta College is hosting a Cougar Social Hour from 11 to 1 p.m. this Thursday, it looks like. And in addition to that, Cuesta Pride Movie night is coming up with ASCC Social Club October 27th at 4 p.m. Costumes are welcome and they are encouraged. Check out the website for more details. In addition, Faculty Show October 26th. The Faculty 2023 show is happening October 26th at the Harold J. Miosi building. Please check out the website for more. If you're looking for more KGUR.net news, or you're looking for more In Your Face Sports, or perhaps you're searching for your favorite DJs that have played in the past, go ahead and check us out on KGUR.net or follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more. In addition, if you'd like to hear us live broadcast, In Your Face Sports are live at 1 p.m. on Tuesdays every week. With that being said, we're returning to your normal broadcasts here on KGUR Cuesta College Radio, your number one college radio station here on the Central Coast, where the DJs set the vibe.
Don't worry, son. I've got your back. KEB